Assalamualaikum guys, this is my lecture about the krashen theory, and let's read from the first line of its introduction. Language acquisition does not require extensive use of conscious grammatical rule and does not require tedious drill. Acquisition requires meaningful interaction in the target language, natural communication in which speakers are concerned not with the form of their utterances but with the message they are conveying and understanding. Comprehensible input is a crucial and necessary ingredient for the acquisition of language. The best methods are therefore those that supply comprehensible input in low anxiety situations containing messages that students really want to hear. These methods do not force early production in the second language but allow students to produce when they are ready, recognizing that improvement comes from supplying communicative and comprehensible input and not from forcing and correcting production. In the real world, conversation with sympathetic native speakers who are willing to help the acquirer understand are very helpful. Stephen Krashen is the name of the searcher of linguistics who would give these topics. We will discuss his 5 hypotheses. Okay, and your first is introduction, and then we will go further. It's almost a question is almost about any importance we will discuss in grammar of importance of grammar too in krashen theory, and yeah, almost it's about 10 to 15 pages. This whole topic is Stephen in linguistics. Stephen Krashen, University of Southern California, is an expert in the field of linguistics, specializing in theories of language acquisition and development. Much of his recent research has involved the study of known in development. Much of his reactions involved its known English and bilingual language acquisition. Since 1980, he has published well over 100 books and articles and has been invited to deliver over 300 lectures at universities throughout the United States and Canada. This is a brief description of Krashen's widely known and well accepted theory of second language acquisition, which has had a large impact on all areas of second language research and teaching. The 5 hypotheses of Krashen theory of second language acquisition. Krashen theory of second language acquisition consists of 5 main hypotheses. The acquisition learning hypothesis. Let's move to the next page. The monitor hypothesis, this is second hypothesis, and the input hypothesis is third hypothesis, and the effective filter hypothesis, this is the third one, and the natural order hypothesis, this is the fifth one, 4 and fifth one. And you can easily understand that the image is in back your head what is mean monitor, input, effective filter, and natural order. Now we start from the first hypothesis. Explanation. The acquisition learning distinction is the most fundamental of the 5 hypotheses in Krashen theory and the most widely known among linguists and language teachers. According to Krashen, there are 2 independent systems of foreign language performance: the acquired system and the learned system. The acquired system or acquisition is the product of a subconscious process very similar to the process children undergo when they acquire their first language. It requires meaningful interaction in the target language, natural communication in which speakers are concentrated not in the form of their utterances but in the communicative act. The learned system or learning is the product of formal instruction, and it comprises a conscious process which results in conscious knowledge about the language. For example, knowledge of grammar rules. A deductive approach in a teacher-centered setting produces learning, while an inductive approach in a student-centered setting leads to acquisition. According to Krashen's, learning is less important than acquisition. See here out in-depth analysis of the acquisition learning hypothesis and its implications. The monitor. This is the second hypothesis material. Hope you easily understand because there is no difficult words to explain, and the reading for by words are very easy and peculiar. You can easily understand when I'm reading. The monitor hypothesis explain the relationship between acquisition and learning and define the influence of the latter on the former. The monitor function is the practical result of the learner grammar. According to krashen, the acquisition system is the utterance initiator, while the learning system performs the role of the monitor or the editor. The monitor acts in a planning, editing, and correcting function when three specific conditions are met. The second language learner has sufficient time at their disposal. They focus on form and think about correctness. They know the rule. Let's move to the next page. It appears that the role of conscious learning is somewhat limited in second language performance. According to krashen, the role of the monitor is minor, being used only to correct deviation from normal speech and to give speech a more polished appearance. krashen also suggested that there is individual variation among language learners with regard to monitor use. It distinguishes those learners that use the monitor all the time over users. Those learners who have not learned or who prefer not to use their conscious knowledge under users, and those learners that use the monitor appropriately, optimal users. The evaluation of the person's psychological profile can help to determine to what group they belong. They usually extroverts are under user, while introverts and perfectionists are over user. Lack of self-confidence is frequently related to the overuse of the monitor. The input hypothesis is krashen's attempt to explain how the learner acquires a second language. How second language acquisition takes place. The input hypothesis is only concerned with acquisition, not learning. This is our third hypothesis. According to this hypothesis, the learner improves and progresses along the natural order when she receives second language input that is one step beyond his or her current stage of linguistic competence. For example, if a learner is at stage I, then acquisition takes place when she is exposed to comprehensible input that belongs to level I1 plus 1. Since not all of the learner can be at the same level of linguistic competence at the same time, krashen suggested that natural communicative input is the key to designing a syllabus, ensuring in this way that each learner will receive some I plus 1 input that is appropriate for his or her current stage of linguistic competence. See here our enlightening video by krashen about comprehensible input. The affective filter. This is our fourth, I guess. This is our fourth and second last. And the next we have a last one. Okay. The affective filter. Wait a second. Yes, this is our fourth one. The affective filter hypothesis embodies krashen view that a number of affective variables play a facilitative but non-casual role in second language acquisition. These variables include motivation, self-confidence, anxiety, and personality traits. krashen claims that learners with high motivation, self-confidence, a good self-image, a low level of anxiety, and extroversion are better equipped for success in second language acquisition. Low motivation, low self-esteem, anxiety, introversion, and inhibition can raise the affective filter and form a mental block that prevents comprehensible input from being used for acquisition. Let's move to the next page. In other acquisition, low motivation, low self-esteem, anxiety, introversion, and inhibition can raise the affective filter, form a mental block that prevents comprehensible input from being used for acquisition. In other words, when the filter is up, it impedes language acquisition. On the other hand, positive factor is necessary but not sufficient on its own for acquisition to take place. This is our fifth one. This is our last one, hypothesis of krashen theory. Stephen Krashen. Okay, this is a scientist theory. Okay. Finally, the less important natural order hypothesis. This is the less important natural order hypothesis is based on research finding delay and bird 1972. So Fethman 1975. This is a researcher's names. Please recall it. DULAY Delay and Burt 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 1974 and Fathman FATHMAN for 1975. Makino Makino 1980. CT krashen Society krashen 1987, which suggested that the acquisition of grammatical structures follows a natural order which is predictable for a given language. Some grammatical structures tend to be acquired early while others late. This order seems to be independent of the learner's age, L1 background, condition of exposure, and also the agreement between individual acquirer was not always 100% in the studies. There were statistically significant similarities that reinforced the existence of a natural order of language acquisition. Krashen, however, points out that the implication of the natural order hypothesis is not that a language program syllabus should be based on the order found in the study. In fact, he rejects grammatical sequencing when the goal is language acquisition. So this is over the 5 hypotheses. This is the less important, and the scientist's name, don't forget that I'm calling you again and again, because today Burt and 1974, Fethman 1975, Mikino 1980, cited in krashen 1987. This is very important 5 hypotheses of krashen theory. In the next video we will discuss over next topic, which is the role of grammar in Krashen's view. Stephen Krashen's 1978, when he gave this theory hypothesis of how much importance give to the grammar in his Krashen's, in his view, what he think how much grammar is important. This is almost our end of Krashen's topics. This is our last page. Okay, I hope you like my lecture. For more videos and learning help study guide, please visit my channel and subscribe my channel. Like, comment, share and give your positive feedbacks. Okay, bye, take care.